and welcome to another episode of the Hotspur Huddle, where for once I am finally back. My head looks a bit shiny thanks to having really bad eczema the last couple of days, but I am back on the show, and I'm also joined by Wes. Wes, you're a returning member every week. You're always the one that's always here, so how are you?
Yeah, all good. Nice to have you with us, Hollie. It's been a while, but me and Nelson have been holding the fort, although he's decided he's got a better offer playing at the Home of Football tonight. So, yeah, unfortunately, we are without Nelson. So that means we don't really have to talk about Arsenal. So there are some positives, I suppose. But yeah, other than that, all good and looking forward to the show as always.
It should definitely be a good one. Like I say, Nelson's got a better deal, I think, in terms of playing in Wembley. But like you said, it also means we don't have to talk about Arsenal, which is a bonus, like you say. But like we always say, this show is sponsored by the amazing Kofa. So, Wes, I'm going to let you do your thing.
Yeah, it's the Kofa or Kickoff Football Academy Milton Keynes. Run lots and lots of different football sessions across the area for young boys and girls who are wanting to have some extra training for their football and development. So we have lots and lots of one-on-one sessions. We've got a couple of mini kickers partnerships. We've got festive camps coming up, birthday parties, girls football. You name it, we got you covered in terms of football. So if you are in the MK area and have the next Dele Alli or Leah Williamson pending, then please send them our way because we'd love to help them on their footballing journey.
Lovely jubbly, right before Christmas as well. So make sure you go check out Kofa as well, see if you're around, see if you can get involved in that. But Wes, we have quite a lot to talk about tonight. And I'm going to start with Spurs because it's been a little while since I've actually spoken about Tottenham. So it'd be nice to kind of get your views as well. Obviously, we've been a bit bipolar at the minute. So how have you kind of found the last couple of weeks being a Spurs fan?
Well, it was great a couple of weeks ago at the Deckiad because we just decided to tear City apart. To be honest, then to be fair, the Roma game was probably up there in terms of one of the best games that I've just been able to enjoy and watch. I thought Roma were absolutely brilliant. You're looking at the team that they've got, and then you kind of are questioning how they are 12th in Serie A, to be honest, because the names that they've got, Zviliar in goal. People may not know this, but he came to fruition playing for Benfica as a 17-year-old in the Champions League against Man United, I believe. And then you've got the likes of Evan and Dicker, Mats Hummels, Angelino, who's been at City, Paredes, Manu Kone, El Shaarawy, Dybala, Dovbyk. So that the names are really there for Roma. But yeah, I just can't understand how they're on their third coach of the season and like I say, struggling in mid-table. But then you get to Fulham on Sunday and it's just like, ugh. It kind of just felt like, when you watch Match of the Day and there's just like a game that is just there. That's what Fulham felt like on Sunday. It was just like a game of football that was just there. Like nobody, I think it's one of them, like nobody's really going to remember it now. I know we're speaking about it, obviously, but yeah, and like a couple of days afterwards, I don't think anybody's really going to care or, be bothered about sort of like what happened, what went down, which was really, really strange. I just think we looked like a team that's absolutely knackered. And then obviously Ange coming out and saying he doesn't have the players in the squad at the moment. He's dead right. But everybody's taking it so out of context and going, well, this is why you need to have a strong window. This is why you need to have squad depth. The squad depth's there, but you've got 9 players out through injuries and suspensions, and they're to mainly our squad players majority of the time. So we're relying on the squad to kind of come through, but playing Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, it can be quite taxing, for the players. And I think that was the Fulham game was the sort of end result of what had been a taxing week, I think, for everybody involved.
Definitely, and obviously the news breaking out that Vicario also was injured is kind of like another kind of spanner in the works when you finally found that form from City. Obviously, then played okay against Roma, obviously dropping those points right at the last minute, and then that 1-1 draw against Fulham. It's almost like we nearly almost had it, and then again our feet taken away from beneath us, basically.
Yeah, and I think obviously hearing the news on on the Sunday, Monday or whenever it was about Vicario was really strange because I know he went down in the City game. Obviously, I was there, and he did go down. But then it sort of like he played on, and it was like, oh, okay, he's kind of got over his knock. So then to hear that he's played like best part of an hour with a broken ankle, you're thinking, I know this guy's not a full deck like upstairs, as we would say. But yeah, that kind of sums him up. I think like he is not there. Like he is, I wouldn't say an olive short of a pizza, but you get the gist. Like he's absolutely tapped in the head, the geezer. So that was like, in one sense, it's good that he wants to like die for the club and die for the badge, but at the same time, you're like, how on earth have you managed that? To be honest.
No, definitely. And I think that's the thing. It was kind of like, yeah, like you said, you played on, but you basically had a fractured foot. How have you managed that sort of thing?
Yeah, and pulled off a worldy performance as well, by the way. It wasn't like he was hobbling about either. He's thrown himself about here, there, and everywhere.
Like I say, the geezer's just mad. Obviously we've got United TV while we're still on the subject of Spurs. Obviously he said, is Ange taking Spurs in the right direction? I think we're on the same page about this, Wes, but I'm going to let you far away in terms of where your head is with Ange at the moment and what direction we're going in.
Yeah, I personally think Ange is taking Spurs in the right direction. I can see a lot of positives from Ange and what he's trying to do. His problem is an entitled fan base for one, which are entitled over apps for no reason, like whatsoever, and it feels like he's on a bit of a hide into nothing, and there's people kind of waiting for him to fail. That's from like a fan point of view. If I have my sort of other football head on, obviously he's working with a difficult person to deal with and operate with in Mr. Levy. I think everybody knows that in the world of football. But then, I think I said this before with the Park Lane boys. It was like with regards to like Mourinho and Conte, like they knew what they were signing up for in the sense of they know that Levy's difficult to work with. So if you feel like he's too difficult, just say no to the job. Like it's that simple. But yeah, I think Ange is taking Spurs in the right direction. Um, we're still there's going to be a few bumps in the road. I think any club is going to have that. But I like him, and I feel like he brings a lot of positivity for me from a fan point of view because I understand what he's talking about most of the time. Like he does it. There's no cryptic messages in what he's saying. He's very to the point, and yeah, I'm a big Ange fan. Don't get me wrong, there are going to be times where I question some things, but that's probably personal preference in terms of things that I would potentially do if that was me in that hot seat. But I think on the whole, I don't think Spurs fans can really grumble at the job Ange has done to this point.
I think that's the thing. It's kind of like what United TV is saying as well, that us as fans, we have got a very I can't say short patience span because, like you say, we put up with Nuno, we put up with Jose, we put up with Conte. It's just mad how we've finally got our Spurs back in terms of attacking football, taking risks, playing high pace to then pick up a fuss when we lose some game. And to me, it's almost like you've got to give it a bit of time. And I know people say you've got to give it so much time before you kind of put it to bed, but it's almost like, hang on a minute, look where we were, let's take a step back for a minute and move forward. But obviously looking ahead, Wes, we've got a couple of games coming thick and fast, and even though we've got those players out, in terms of we've got Bournemouth tomorrow, we've got Chelsea at the weekend, and I think we've got Celtic in the week again, and then we've got Southampton away, which we have to bloody win for personal reasons. But Wes, how do you kind of see those fixtures going round, and more importantly obviously that game tomorrow?
Yeah, firstly, it's Rangers, by the way, not
Sorry.
Celtic. So yeah, you're going to get yourself in trouble with that one. Yeah, I think we're speaking about this on Sunday with the Park Lane boys. The two teams that we're up against could actually suit us in terms of Bournemouth like to really go at their opponents. I think we saw that in particular against Wolves. Obviously, Evan Nilsson winning 3 penalties, and I think the work that he's done, he's almost taken on that mantle from Solanke in that sense of pressing from the front, etc., and setting off that press for the team. So I think the game tomorrow is going to be a really really good game. I am looking forward to it. Yeah, Chelsea, just don't lose. That's all I'm after because I will be in the foulest of foulest moods coming out if we lose that one. Don't talk to me until Wednesday at least. I might have got over it by then. So yeah, just don't lose that one. I think if we turn up, we might. I wouldn't say we might be okay. I think it's more because I think Andrew said today that there's a few players that are still a little bit further away. So I'm hoping that if they aren't to play, say, tomorrow, that they're available for Sunday. For example, Romero van der Ven. I think if we have those two available Sunday, I go into the game a little bit more confident that we can get something. If we don't, that's when I'm going to be a bit like, could be a long day at the office. Yeah, Rangers should be winning that comfortably. They're terrible. I think they get away with it because the quality of the league isn't that great. But put it this way, there's the new Aberdeen manager's come in and I wouldn't say taken the league by storm, but has really sort of upset the apple cart of the top two up there. And yeah, I think they're almost like one loss away from a full on meltdown and crisis over there. So that's quite funny sometimes. And then we've got Southampton, which again we should be winning that because they are terrible. They are really bad at the moment, Southampton. They seem to be getting like little glimmers of hope here and there. But I think on the whole, we should be able to punish them. And I think if we're clinical against Southampton, you get a lot of joy because they take some unbelievable risks when building and trying to play out from the back and playing through the pitch. So if we get the press right, I think if Solanke plays against Southampton, we will. I'm hoping anyway, but I believe that we will get about 3 or 4 against them.
I think that's the thing. So obviously, I put a post out today on X saying about how many points do we get from this, and a lot of people are saying it's if Solanke can stay fit, I think we'll be okay. And I think that is the biggest thing at the moment. But let's move away from Spurs, and we're going to talk about obviously the league kind of in general and how it's going on at the moment at the top. We're going to start with the top and then we'll go to the bottom. So at the moment, obviously, this is kind of the league table in terms of what is going on at the moment. And as we can see, obviously, Liverpool at the moment are pulling away slightly. And it means for us, Wes, Arsenal are still up there, but there are a few points, I say a few points, quite a lot of points behind Liverpool. So how are you seeing this title charge at the moment? Is it still too far ahead to kind of set? I mean, but with Liverpool playing so well, and if they keep it up, is it still signed, sealed, delivered? There we go. Get me words out.
I wouldn't say it's done, but I think Liverpool naturally, with the gap that they have over the teams around them, and the other what you would probably class as title contenders, you're looking at Arsenal and City probably at this moment in time in particular. Obviously, 11 clear of City, 9 clear of Arsenal. You'd like to think that Liverpool have put themselves in a really strong position, and loads of people were saying this is the period where we're going to see what this Liverpool are about because they had loads of difficult fixtures and they've come out of the other side of it really, really well. Love the way Arne Slot's got Liverpool playing, I have to say. Hasn't changed a lot from Klopp either. And I think he mentions Klopp a lot in interviews saying, look, I was blessed. I was left with an unbelievably good squad of players, which he was. But I think the next test for Slot is probably next season, potentially season after, because there's a little bit of a rebuild that's needed at Liverpool. Obviously, you've got Salah, Virgil van Dijk's contracts, and the age profile of those two players. It'll be interesting to see what Liverpool's moves are with regards to both of those. Do they look to keep Trent as well? I think that's a big call and a big decision for the football club as well. But yeah, I think Liverpool are looking really, really strong at the moment. They've got good strength in depth, especially in the forward areas as well. But there's still a long way to go. I think we get out the end of this sort of festive period, and then I think the league just starts to take a little bit more shape. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some more twists. Like there's nothing to stop, say, City going on an unbelievable run like they have done previously, where they come out of the back of January and are just a relentless winning machine. And I think there seems to be this inner fire within the players at City from what they're coming out and saying that they really want to prove people wrong. So yeah, don't rule City out just yet. Don't sleep on them just yet. Because like I say, they have got that capability to do that. The interesting one for me is Chelsea. Enzo Maresca, the job that he's done has gone massively unnoticed because he took over and Chelsea was absolute carnage at the start of the season. They're signing everybody. It's almost like WeBuyAnyCar.com, right? They're signing everybody left, right, and centre. But he has just brought a level of calmness to Chelsea and he's gone right. He's had to make some tough calls and tough decisions and he's done that. He's stuck by it. And I think with the squad that he's got, and I think Mark Chapman was trying to say this on Match of the Day 2 on Sunday. The beauty that Maresca's got is that literally he can name a completely different 11 on a Thursday in the Conference League to a Premier League game, but the quality isn't affected too much. I know the quality of opposition in the Conference League isn't anywhere near really the standard of the Premier League by any stretch, but it just gives him that opportunity to rest and rotate the squad accordingly and keep everybody fresh. So I think that's where, and I think that's why Chelsea are where they are at the moment. The thing that will probably be Chelsea's Achilles heel is consistency, because it is a very, very young squad. But I see Chelsea finishing around third to fifth this season, and I think if they do that, that is an unbelievable season, and an unbelievable job from Enzo Maresca.
No, definitely. I think, like you said, it was absolute carnage when he walked in. And like you said, he's just given that kind of stillness in the club. I mean, United TV, I know we're going to bring it back to Spurs again. But what's kind of our expectations for the league, the cups this season? Because obviously at the moment we are sitting seventh.
Yeah,
And again, we like to drop points against teams we should be beating. We still haven't fixed that problem yet. But what is your kind of expectations, Wes?
I mean Spurs are like Robin Hood this season, aren't they? Take from the rich and give to the poor. Um, my expectation, put it this way, I think if Ange gets us European football again, I'd say that's a success. So I wouldn't be too fussed, even if we finish in a Europa League spot. Again, I will happily take that because again, I don't think the squad is ready for Champions League football by any stretch of the imagination. Um, so I'd be more than happy with Europa again next year. Cup wise, let's have a bit of a go. We're in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, beat United. That's you're a couple of games away from Wembley effectively. FA Cup, yeah, we've got on paper what looks like a favourable draw, but every Spurs fan has thought and contemplated us losing that game, myself included. I think, listen, if Spurs drew City in the FA Cup, we'd be buzzing, right? We'd probably say that's an easier fixture than Tamworth away. So just to throw that in there. But for me, I would really, really love us to put the eggs in the Europa League basket. Why not? Let's go for it because, like I said, I don't think the squad's there for Champions League. The Europa League, if we win it, obviously we get into the Champions League. So it's almost like a back route, going down the back road to get to your destination almost. So why not? And obviously means for us a bit of a trophy number one, but a European trophy at the same time. Because I think there's one team in the league that are singing champions of Europe and are struggling at the minute. So yeah, I'd like us to have a bit of a go in the cups, and maybe like I say, finish in a Europa League spot for me.
I think it's a shout. I just want a cup. I don't really care at the moment what it is. I think there's a lot of us that sometimes turn our nose up to certain cups, and I'm like, sod it, I don't really care. I just want to celebrate something and winning something. United TV, this is normally a general Premier League stream. Normally we have Nelson with us who plays devil advocate, who's an Arsenal fan, and we kind of have a balanced discussion about Tottenham, Arsenal, and then everything in the middle. So welcome for joining. Let's move to the bottom half of the table. Obviously, my faves at the bottom there, Southampton. So how do you think this relegation battle is going to go? Do you think it's going to stay roughly the same? Do you think Everton are going to drop back into that zone?
Yeah, I think the relegation battle is probably just as interesting as the title race because I think there's a clutch of teams that are almost as bad as each other. But having said that, looking at the league, I think there's a lot of praise given to Bournemouth and Villa this season. But then look at their league positions. They're in the bottom half. I know Villa have had a bit of a slide. I don't think they've won in 8 games, I think, in all competitions now. Emery's longest winless run, or joint longest winless run, which was easy for me to say. I think that dates back to his time at Arsenal and Villarreal. But yeah, I out of the teams down there, the one team I wouldn't say I'm rooting for, but I think just waiting for it to click. And I think once it does click, then we'll see a completely different team as Ipswich. I think that out of the teams down there, they seem to be the ones that have got their house in order a little bit more. Palace really disappointed with. I was tipping them for big things this year. Maybe even a European charge. So yeah, I think they've disappointed everybody. To be honest, I think Eze's not quite there. Nowhere near the levels of what he's shown previously. And I think Palace are trying to look to him to be the main man. Obviously, they've got no Elise now, so I think there's a bit of extra on Eze, and he's not hit the heights of what he has done previously. Wolves, I fear for them big time. I think I said this earlier on in the season. But I think they've just been caught up with spending. I wouldn't say overspending, but spending quite a bit in previous windows, and now with the PSR and FFP regulations, they're getting caught up with that. So yeah, Wolves are a bit of a team that I fear for. Southampton, as I mentioned earlier, they're just so naive, honestly. Like, you're playing against Liverpool, notoriously one of the best pressing teams in the final third. Yeah, let's invite them on. Let's invite them on. No, miss it out and just go that little bit longer. But I think Southampton's thing is they haven't really got a focal point as a striker. So yeah, I mean, West Ham, if they chop their manager, I think they might be okay, because I think there's enough there for West Ham to get out of it and kick on. Leicester, I don't. I mean, me and Nelson spoke about obviously Steve Cooper, and I never understood the appointment in the first place. But now Rude's coming, I think that's going to give Leicester a bit of impetus. And I mean, West Ham absolutely battered Leicester last night, like absolutely battered them. Like, put it this way: if you're playing FIFA, your controller's getting broken. If you're playing Football Manager, your laptop or your iPad or whatever you play it on's getting dashed out the window. Um, how West Ham didn't even score was baffling. They created so many chances. Their final third entries were probably as high as any game that you would have seen in the Premier League this season. But yeah, I think again West Ham's trouble is I don't think Lopetegui knows his best team. They look so disjointed at the back. They got no legs in midfield. Add all that together, and you get a 14th place team. Unfortunately for West Ham.
I'm glad you mentioned that game actually, because I was waiting to say for you to say J Lo, and then you actually said his actual name. I had it written down to say J Lo when I introduced the next bit, but I think you're right. And obviously with Rudd, however you say his name, right? I'm like butchering names.
Rude, rude.
Sorry, Rude. It was how rude of me not to say his name right. But it's interesting to see that he was doing quite well at United, and obviously got the job at Leicester. And in his first game, like you said, okay, West Ham haven't looked great, and the way that J Lo plays them isn't great. But it's great to see Leicester kind of pick those points up against West Ham, isn't it?
That was a huge, huge game, I think, for both teams last night. But like I say, Leicester got battered. The scoreline, that's probably the only one of the only games I've seen this season where the scoreline does not reflect the balance of play. Like, not at all. West Ham absolutely murdered Leicester. But I think, again, from a West Ham point of view, it's just individual errors and just disjointed at the back. Like I said, I know you're speaking about Rude, and like I say, he's going to come in, and it looked like from a setup point of view, the sort of what we're seeing a lot of teams do now with a 3-2-5 in particular, build up play, etc. So yeah, I think Rude, I think he's got that respect because of what he did as a player. I think people are overlooking the job he did at PSV at the time, because it's the Dutch league and nobody really takes much notice of it. Da, da, da. But the job he did at PSV was brilliant. To come second, I think, to Ajax at the time, but to push them quite far, given the resources that he had, the squad that he had. Put it this way, he had Jared Brantwaite on loan from Everton. And Jared Brantwaite was rumoured to go to United for 70 million in the summer. And he got a big, big tune out of him. He had Madueke, fell out with the board over him going to Chelsea, and that's why he resigned, lost his job, however you want to put it. So yeah, I think Rude is a decent manager, and I think it's a good fit at the right time for Leicester. Killer for West Ham, because I think if he goes in at West Ham, it's probably just what they need right now. But then West Ham, I think, are looking, I wouldn't say above Van Nistelrooy, but they're looking for a bit more of a high profile name, somebody sort of been there, seen it, done it a little bit more. So I know the old Dortmund manager, Edin Terzic, has been heavily linked with the West Ham job. He was actually Slaven Bilic's assistant when Slav was there. So, I mean, if West Ham can pull that off, that would be a real coup, I think, for the football club, because I think anybody that watches European football knows the job that he did at Dortmund. Not only with bringing through young players, it's their kind of club philosophy, but the way that they played, is where it was very much on the front foot, very attack minded. But it obviously just depends on whether they're going to get rid of J Lo from the block at West Ham.
It will be interesting. I mean, I'm quite happy at the moment while they're doing crap. I'm sure a lot of us Spurs fans are anyway. But yeah, like you say, I think that game was a big game for both teams the other night, and obviously Leicester came up on top. Obviously, there's going to be so many games coming thick and fast in the next couple of weeks, especially during the festive period, which is going to be exciting. Again, we might see a bit of change at the top, we might see a bit of change at the bottom, but hopefully, from our perspective, we're Spurs actually pick up the points, because it would be nice to actually pick up points we should be picking up. But it'd be an interesting game tomorrow, obviously away on the south coast. But that kind of moves us on to your favourite part of the show, especially your favourite part at the moment, because obviously I'm doing so bad. And we're going to talk about FPL. So I'm going to get your team on the screen and you can talk us through it, Wes. Go for it.
So, what a cracking week I've had FPL wise. Look at that, 62 points. Cold Palmer, Mohamed Salah, take your bows, please, because they did absolute bits for me. Kukurea as well had an absolute weldy for me. Although put Decky in, didn't quite happen. I was a little bit disappointed, but I think that's because he started on the bench, which I wasn't anticipating. I did put Gordon and Isak in for the Monday night football as well. So yeah, that's kind of killed me a little bit, because obviously West Ham did turn over Newcastle, and then also they didn't pick up a win against Palace. Mark Gay's absolutely killed me though, because he got an assist. But he also got a yellow card, so that's why his points are a lot lower than normal. And typically, a captain Danny Welbeck, because they're playing Southampton, drops a stinker. So I'm thankful for Palmer and Salah, but I have made a change ahead of obviously the deadline, which was yesterday. So I've put in Cunha for Isak for this week, and I've got, I think, 13 points at the moment for Gay and Henderson for the fixture last night. So started off well, but yeah, and I believe, Holly, I've also overtaken you in your FPL league and any other leagues that we are in.
Yes, you have, because I'm awful at the game. I know you send me reminders, but you know what I'm like. Never actually get around to doing it. So I'm gonna let me hide this and then make sure I choose the right one. No, wrong way. Good job I did. Right, this one. No. Bear with. Technical issues, people. You see, I've been out of the game for a little while. Right, let me. Well, I found Nelson, so I'm gonna have to run me through Nelson's. As per, Nelson comes in and beats everyone. So, do you want to go through what Nelson's picked? I mean, there's a few players in there that you've picked as well, with Salah and stuff. 26 points, captaining him. Jesus, go on, run me through it.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's me trying to be a bit clever and go Welbeck, because of his opponent. But yeah, it looks like Nelson's had a bit of a world. He's had Salah, Palmer, and Bukayo Saka in his midfield. I know he's a big fan of Anthony Robinson at the back. He's had Gabriel in there, who scored. I think Saka had a worldy performance, obviously goal and assist. Probably got extra points, I think, as well. I know Salah and Palmer both did, so that's why their points have been heightened. Cunha didn't have the best of the games, neither did João Pedro, so that's great for us. He's got Fabianski on the bench, who's got -1 points. I wish he'd have put him in goal, to be honest. Eight Nuri had a shocker, because obviously Wolves got torn apart by Bournemouth. But yeah, that's kind of Nelson's team. But yeah, 78 points for the big man. Don't know how he does it, to be honest. He's probably got no time on his hands, because he just studies FPL like in his evenings.
As I say, he's probably got like a degree in it as well, studying
Yeah.
FPL. More so than what I can bloody say, because as we know, I'm not very good at doing my team. A, because I forget. B, because I really can't be. I feel like I need to put a forfeit in myself to make sure I do it. Because at the moment it's quite shocking. As you can see, the only player that scored above 10 points for me was Palmer. So other than that, there's not really a lot else to talk about, really. I mean, Winks and Van der Ven obviously are still injured. I still haven't gone through the effort of switching them out. I need a proper shake-up, to be honest with you. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
I think if I would take Eze out, because I had him in at the start and he's just not done anything. I think he's killed a lot of FPL players, so I think he's been transferred out by quite a lot, but at different times. I'm also tempted to take out Morgan Rogers, because again his form's dipped, Villa's form has dipped. Coincidence? I think not. So yeah, I've been taught. I almost put Antoine Semenyo in my team, I have to say, because he's done really well at Bournemouth. But then I think he was either suspended or picked up a knock, so that's why I didn't put him in. But yeah, Hollie, you got to shake up your team. You got to shake it up because you can't be performing the way you are at the moment.
Do you know what it is? It's because my NFL one's going really well. So when I start losing in that, then I'll go back to. I can't do two things at once. I think that's my problem. But I promise, isn't it? There's 2 game weeks this week, isn't it? Is it split into
Yeah, so
2?
it's a double game week. So obviously we got the midweek fixtures and then the weekend fixtures. So yeah, have a look like serious. Well, between sort of now, obviously there's going to be a lot of fixtures. Double game weeks, I think, are going to be crucial for points, etc. So yeah, it's a busy time for FPL players. So this is where you got to look at fixtures and fixture difficulty ratings to then pick your teams accordingly, I would say.
Yeah, I need to sit down and actually have a proper look. I think rather than
I think you need to go full Ranieri, Tinkerman, and just blast through your whole team, and yeah, have a bit of a change.
I think I just need to start again, like you say. I think that'd be a lot easier, to be honest with you, because I think I'm too far gone. But no, I will definitely have a look at it, and then we can dissect it properly next week. But yeah, Wes, it's been amazing to chat to you tonight. It's also been nice not to talk about Arsenal as well. It's been a breath of fresh air. But no, Wes, I was going to say, where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Yeah, people can find me everywhere, to be honest, but I'll go through it because the fan base want to know. So Twitter's at Wes010, unofficial Moose Dembele fan account. Got a lovely little shout out from Sky Sports News the other week because he was their mystery player. So yeah, that's where people can find me doing my thing. And Instagram's at Wes032. At majority of Spurs home games. And obviously I was at the Deckyard a couple of weeks ago as well, which was really, really nice. Don't think I'm going to get to many away games this year, though, unfortunately, which is going to be a bit of a killer. But yeah, usually at a home game in the South Stand. So if anybody does recognise me, then come and say hello. And then, yeah, for all the football coaching stuff, it's Kofa MK or Kickoff Football Academy across your socials.
Oh, lovely stuff. But no, Wes, it's been nice tonight. Like we always keep saying, it's nice to not talk about Arsenal, but we do miss you, Nelson. Hopefully, you're balling out at Wembley at the moment. We can't wait
In
to
your
see.
in your Jude Bellingham Preds as well that you've got specifically for this game, by the way, just throwing that out there.
I do rate the dedication, man. I think I'd be exactly the same, to be fair. Bless him. But no, I hope he's having a good time. Obviously, we'll be back next Monday for a Hollie's Hotspurs. We've got a good lineup of guests. Make sure you tune in for that one to dissect, obviously, the Chelsea game. The Hotspur Huddle will be back next Wednesday as well. Well, hopefully, the trio will be back in business for next week. So, like we always say all the time, until next time, how are you, Spurs?